Thank you. Good morning to one and all present over here. I first of all welcome the heads and directors of our schools, divisions, regional directors and assistant regional directors of different regional centers of Indira Gandhi National Open University, the coordinators, academic counselors and other part-time functionaries of our study center, and my dear learners. As you all are aware that Indira Gandhi National Open University Regional Centre Mumbai has been organizing sorry has been organizing number of webinars to have or to create positive approach towards the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic in the country. In continuation to that only, today again we are here with another webinar about eight stages of life. Today we have with us Dr. Shreekant Joshi sir. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of all the participants and Regional Centre Mumbai. Thank you very much, sir. Sir is a senior psychiatrist with 45 years of experience in mental health delivery, and he has an MD in psychological medicine. Sir will be delivering the lecture this, and we hope that this whole lecture will be helpful to you all. Now I welcome our regional director Dr. E Krishna Rao sir for introducing our guest and his initial remarks. Thank you.
We cannot hear him. Give him a call.
1 minute, sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Dr. Shreekant Joshi, today's speaker, Regional Director of Indira Gandhi National Open University, Assistant Regional Directors, my colleagues at IGNOU New Delhi, coordinators of IGNOU Study Center, academic counselors, and my dear learners. A warm welcome to today's lecture on 8 stages of life. As you are all aware, Indira Gandhi National Open University Regional Centre Mumbai is proactive and taking several initiatives regarding student support services as well as other motivating students in this particularly this pandemic situation. More than 1.5 years, we are continuously organizing this type of meetings as well as other activities under RC Mumbai. As a part of it, and as per the directions of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, we are organizing this type of motivational speeches by the eminent scholars and experts in the field particularly. Today, we are very fortunate having Dr. Shreekant Joshi with us in this occasion. I also feel very happy to introduce Dr. Shreekant Joshi, who is having more than 45 years of experience in the field of mental health delivery. He has completed his medical education from TNMC Mumbai. After that, he joined in the National Institute of Mental Health, Bangalore in 1975. He has an MD in psychological medicine. Dr. Shreekant Joshi has been in clinical private practice in psychiatry since 1979 in the district of Thane, Maharashtra. He is an ex-professor of Psychiatry at Perna Medical College, Navi Mumbai, ex-president of Indian Psychiatric Society, Thane branch. For his credit, he has been a participant and speaker at several national and international conferences. He has served as an advisor to Social Welfare Department, Maharashtra State, All India Radio, Mumbai, the Red Cross. He has been a national trustee for the Alcoholic Anonymous India. He has written several articles and a popular writer on the subject of book Manovikarancha Magova, it is in Tamil, on the subject of mental health, has had multiple editions and has been widely circulated. Dr. Shreekant Joshi has traveled widely in more than 25 countries all over the world, spending quality time, particularly delivering lectures on this issue of the mental health. For his credit, he has published so many good number of articles in the national and the international journals. And even he has delivered a special lecture at the university level, national and international level. Fortunately, his wife, Dr. Geeta Joshi, who is senior consultant in this psychology and the external examiner for IGNOU psychology program. And also, he not only Dr. Shreekant Joshi, his family also involving in this service, particularly dealing with this issue of the mental health, where they are serving a lot to the society. Sir, Dr. Shreekant Joshi, sir, having you in this occasion, I feel very happy as a regional director, and also I am very thankful to you, my own behalf of and on our regional center behalf of for accepting our invitation and agreeing to deliver the speech or the lecture on 8 stages of life, which is a very important one. Every human being should understand what are the stages human life is having, because of the IGNOU or Regional Centre Mumbai is taking particularly this type of issues because of under this pandemic situation, students as well as the staff as well as the faculty, all human beings are under the pressure. Even small issues ke liye we are getting the tension and all under the this pandemic situation. May there your lecture is going to help our students particularly to rid off from these tensions and these pressures, and they will concentrate on their studies as well as lead their happy social life in this particular critical situation. I once again welcome you and I thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you, one and all. I request Dr. Shreekant Joshi to deliver the lecture on 8 stages of life. Thank you. Sir, your mic is muted.
Yes.
Sir, your mic.
Can you hear me now, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Is mic on?
Mic is no. Hello. Please wave if you can hear me.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah, fine. Thanks a lot. Thank you. So thank you very much for some very kind words, the director, sir. It's my pleasure and honor to be associated with your university. As I understand that learning is a lifelong profession, and we need, we individually, our society and our country will progress when we embrace learning all our life. And it just doesn't, learning just doesn't stop within the four walls of a classroom. Learning doesn't stop if there are floods. Learning doesn't stop if there are famines. And learning doesn't stop if there are pandemics. And the institutes like you, like IGNOU, is doing a tremendous job in allowing people to keep on learning in the various ways. So it's my honor and my pleasure to be associated with this learning pattern. Now, what I'm going to talk on is the way human beings develop. Of course, there are many models on that, but the way we develop right from being born till the end stage of life. How is this progress? How is this journey? And this is going to be our subject today. Now, this talk basically is based on a psychoanalyst model, and the name of the psychoanalyst is Erik Erikson. Was born in 1902 and lived up to a ripe old age up to 1994. And then he has proposed, there are many different models, but he has proposed a model, 8 stages on right from the time when a child, an infant is born, completely helpless, till the infant grows up as a young child, as an adolescent, as a young adult, as a middle-aged adult, and finally as a senior citizen. It's a very, very interesting journey. I'm going to refer to Erik Erikson, but also going to make comments on the observation of my own and what we see all around us. For this, I have a set of slides, and may I request Abhishek? Abhishek, can you hear me? Can you put on the first slide, please? Can you share the slide? Ask Abhishek to share the slide. Yes. Yeah. 8 factors for a successful life. What is success is a relative term. Abhishek, next one, please. Now, Erik Erikson is a famous psychoanalyst who has postulated this theory that as a child is born and develops into an adult and even late old age, there are 8 stages of life from birth to end. He says that at each stage, there is a developmental milestone, and there is a developmental milestone. There is a conflict in the development, and there is work to be done. For an optimal growth, when you start growing, at each stage presents a particular challenge, and the challenge is right there from the childhood. And this is how we grow. The next one, please. Next slide. Fine. Now, as we know, amongst all the young ones, human beings are the most helpless. When a child is born, the child is completely helpless at birth. For each and every physiological and physical function, right from feeding, the child is completely dependent on the mother. In fact, amongst all the animal kingdom, the human beings have a very prolonged age in which they mature. We are born and we don't become adult. till we are around 18. I think somebody is, this thing is on. Please mute your phones. Yes. So I think the first stage is very important, is that as a child is born and an infant is born, the infant is completely helpless, and infant has to depend completely on the mother on every need. And the need is not just physical feeding, the need is also touching. The need is also loving words. And this stage is extremely important, because how does the infant know that what he or she wants will be fulfilled? And because there is a mother, all the child's and infant's needs are automatically fulfilled, and that starts, the first thing is a level of trust. The child, the infant comes to trust that whatever my demands, whatever my needs, which will be fulfilled by my mother, and this is the beginning of development of trust. Now, this bond between mother and child is so very important, because for some reason, if this bond is disrupted, then the child's needs are not fulfilled. The infant has no way of fulfilling his or her own demand, and the trust is broken. And I think we will come to the trust issue at later on. But the first most important task for a child, for an infant, and also for the mother is to give a loving nurturing to an infant, and to develop in the infant the basic trust. The next one, please. Fine. So now, by the time the child is around 9 months, 10 months, child is crawling. By around 18 months, child has started walking. Now, this is the next important stage in development. Now, remember the child which was lying in a palna, uh, in a crib. The child was completely dependent. The child had no control. But the child which starts crawling, the child which starts taking a few steps, and moreover, the child who has now developed some control over his or her movement, some control over sphincters, whether when to pass tools, when not to. It's very, very important for the child. This is the first opening in life when a human being first experiences a sense of control over self. Remember that all this time, the child which was completely dependent is now gaining a control, and the first control the child has is control over movement, over muscles, and over sphincter. Sphincter means passing stools. Now, this is the time also when the child knows, child has the power to either hold on or to let go. Now, we know is that potty training is very, very important. The child initially doesn't know where and when to pass urine, pass stools, but gradually this is the first function in which the child has developed some control, and this also is the first function wherein the child will need some parental support, and this also happens to be the first function of autonomy and independence. A child who has started walking, a child who knows when and where to pass urine and stool and not, is the first step towards autonomy and independence. And the ability to do it well will develop a sense of confidence. But very often, the mother will say, naughty girl, naughty boy, don't do this, don't do that. And sometimes this can lead the child to develop a sense of little shame and doubt. Of course, this is also the way you learn. This is the stage when the child requires loving support. This is also a stage when the child starts feeling independence. This can also be a stage that if it is not done well, the child may develop a little sense of shame and doubt himself. Now the child is growing up and moving to the third stage. Next slide, please. Yes. Next one. Now the child who has become 3 years old. This another important thing which is part is not here is this. When a child is born, there are numerous billions of neurons in the brain, but as the brain of a child is maturing, gradually the brain starts becoming organized. And as the brain, the nerves, the neurons within the brain, the circuits starts organizing, the brain, as you know, is the master controller of the body, and the developing brain now is controlling the speech, it is controlling the movement, and the child which can speak, the child which can move, the child which is started developing language, the child which is now started communicating, understanding, is also the child gradually which is now going to explore the world around. Very often we see children will develop curiosity. Right in the beginning, the curiosity may be putting everything in the mouth, because mouth is the way they explore. But later on, it is about handling. A child will wander, child will want to touch this or that, and very often the child will take, move objects, manipulate the objects. This is extremely important. This curiosity, the handling of objects, taking around, moving around is important. That is the way of exploration. Ultimately, as we become older, we need to be independent, but for that, curiosity is very important. This is also the stage in which the child is starting interaction with other children and family. Of course, when you are a curious child and when you are going to move and walk around, you are going to do this or that, you will also be told, do this, don't do this, and you will also be scolded, you will also be shouted at, and a child will also become angry. This is also the beginning of anger. This is also a little beginning of irritation, also beginning of ambition. Child wants to do so many things. So this is the time gradually a child now who is becoming aware of own power is becoming curious, becoming exploring the world around, is being guided, is being restrained, is being stopped, is also now exploring the emotions of little rivalry, anger, aggression. As you know, little children, they may snatch toys away from each other. They may even hit each other. It's not the anger, aggression of the elder age, but this is the time when the curiosity and exploration can lead to a little conflict and solving the conflict. Now, this is the time for initiative, which means that the child which is now moving, the child which is now curious, is also a child which is gradually going to initiate actions. Now, as adults, we don't just react, we initiate our own actions. And the ability to initiate action is an extremely important ability, because without initiative, we cannot develop as adults. If the child is not able to take initiative, if the child is stopped at all the time, child is given excessive punishment, the curiosity is not met with, then this may lead to loss of initiative, This may lead to sense of failure, and this may lead to guilt. So this age group between 3 and 5 is also an age group for a child to develop initiative, and this stage has to be negotiated properly. Otherwise, it can lead to failure in adult life. The next phase, please. Next slide. Yes. Now, from 5-year-old, now the child is growing. Again, 5-year-old is a child which may remain within the confines of the home. A 5-year-old child and beyond now I started moving out, started moving, crossing the boundary, the threshold of own home, started wandering around the courtyard, started going out, maybe the beginning of school. This is also the beginning of manipulating uh, right from holding a pen. Now the development, as you know, all of us are human beings, because as human beings we can use our fingers and thumb no way other animals do. Even chimpanzees can't use thumb. Man is a very special species, because the way we can use our hand, our palm, our opposing thumb, we can use the thumb, you can use our hand to pick up things, to hold things, and this is the beginning of skills. And as the child's brain is developing and maturing, you start holding things, you start moving things, and this is a very important skill. And this is using a tool. I mean, you know that even holding a pencil, if you have seen how a child holds a pencil, initially the child doesn't know how to hold a pencil. But gradually, the holding ability, using tools ability, that becomes an extremely important thing. Again, I would also urge, in today's world, many times children are very often made to be given complex objects quite unnecessarily. It's very important that the child's play should be simple objects and not complex object. It can come to that. You know, very complicated toys are not good. What is really important is essential skills function, for which very simple tools are required, the way the child will grasp. In fact, I would even put it this way, is that the old method of giving the child a pencil and a slate was absolutely the best. Now, this is the time when the child has started creating. And this is also the time when the child has started looking for approval. A very young child, when the child starts walking, you know, we all clap. A very young child, when the child start drawing, you know, he will, the very typical drawing which we have all seen. A child draws a picture of a landscape. There will be a home, there will be a river, there will be, you know, that door. The child will draw me, mama, daddy, rising sun, birds. But the child will come and say, Mama, look at what I have done. Mama, look at me. And then the mother will say, Oh, bahut achhe beta, very nice, very good. So this is the time when the child is now learning skills, using tools, started creating. This is also the time when the child is started needing approval. बहुत अच्छा बेटी. That approval from significant adult, from the mother, from the grandmother, and later on from the school teachers is very important. As all of you know, when we were very young, our teachers were our big heroes. And we used to idolize our teachers because our teachers were our guides. Our teachers used to give us approval. They used to say, bahut achhe, very nice. And that is the way we were encouraged to grow, develop our skills. Again, a child which is now going to school is meeting other girls, meeting other boys, meeting strangers around. This is also the time to fight, and this is also the time to cooperate. Now, it is important that if there is a failure at this particular level, this failure can lead to lack of trust, lack of autonomy, lack of initiative, and lack of confidence. If we have seen this in the past, each stage starts in such a way that uh, unless the first stage of trust, so it starts with trust. You begin to trust, you begin to become independent, you start developing your initiative, you start becoming confident in yourself. And this is how uh, the sense of confidence, and this is a stage of what he calls as industry. Industry doesn't mean the industrial unit. Industry means the way we start creating. The next stage, stage 4, please. Yes. Uh, please allow me. My phone is. Yeah. Now the next stage is stage of identity. Now this child has grown, child has become adult around 13 years age, puberty has set in, and now the child is no more a child, it's a preteens and it's an adolescent. And the first question adolescent has is, who am I? As an adolescent, all of us really want to know, who am I? What is my place in the world? This is the time when child has moved on. It's a way to become a young adult, find your place in the world. This is also the time for making friends. As adolescents, you know that the adolescents very strongly listen to the friends. For them, friends is everything. When we are very young, it may be your teachers. As you grow, it's your friends, it's your group, it's your gang. And you want to make friends, you want to have your own gang, you want to make a group, you want to develop yourself as a person. At the same time, you want to be a part of the gang. And a failure here would again mean a confusion. Many times, people who fail uh, to develop this healthy relationship with others, they either tend to become loners or they may become suspicious as a later stage. This is the stage in which, when a child is a young adolescent, develop puberty, has got friends, knows the meaning of attachment, also the meaning of loyalty. I am reminded of a particular incident here, that a young boy, maybe around 13, 14, was strongly punished by the school principal because somebody had behaved a little naughtily, and the boy was asked. Very often principals, teachers do. If there are teachers here, please understand. And the boy was asked, please name who your friends are. Please tell me who your friends were, and I will let you go. And then the principal was saying कि मैंने वो लड़के को बहुत मारा लेकिन उसने बताया नहीं. And I told the principal, I think what he was doing was in a way right. In the sense, at this particular time, what is most important for an adolescent is friendship, is gang, is group. This is the way when people develop faithfulness, this is also the way people do develop loyalty, and this is an extremely important stage in life. This is also an extremely important stage in thinking about how others are looking at me. Initially, it is how your teachers are looking at you. Initially, it's how your parents see you, then how your teachers see you, and at this particular age, how your friends. So this is the time when your young adult, young adolescent girl or boy, a young girl may spend hours looking into the mirror, maybe trying to do makeup. And the way I look to others, the way others look at me, it become extremely important to an adolescent. And if this is also the time to develop attraction towards the other and the idea of falling in love. This is also the time to develop an identity on who am I, and children who fail in this particular stage, they may become isolated, they may become loners, or sometimes they may even develop antisocial behavior. Next one, please. Now the time comes of intimacy. In the initial period, the friendship was towards gang. And there are, many people have their, I have my own gang of my classmate, maybe my neighborhood, etc. But as young adults, there is a stirring of attraction towards the opposite sex, or if things today's world even toward the same sex. But this is the stage for developing intimacy. Intimacy means an intimate interpersonal relationship with another person of the same age or of little higher age. Intimacy is extremely important to developing faithfulness from being, group. Now you are going to get paired. And this is the time when intimacy is the time of making commitments, honoring commitments, at least learning to make commitments. This is the time to develop love and also to let go. Now remember, love is a very complex emotion. If you love somebody very, very deeply, you are dependent on the particular person. And when you are dependent on somebody else, you have to surrender your autonomy. So love is a very complex relationship, but a loving relationship is extremely important for maturity and ultimate satisfaction in life. So this is the beginning of studying of love. This is the beginning of understanding what love is. This is the beginning of dependence. This is the beginning of being faithful in self and others. And remember that if you are going to surrender, you also need to have faith in yourself. Now, those who don't have faith in themselves and into others, and again, this is the time when people become isolated, they become self-centered, or they sometimes a failure to develop an independent, loving relationship is going to lead to many mental health problems at a later stage, maybe even feeling of anger, irritation, doubt, and suspicion. So this stage of being intimate, if it is not successfully uh, met with, can lead to social isolation. So now this is the time when intimacy is developed. It's the time when from young adulthood, people will get married, develop stable relationship, start developing family, and start entering the middle age. So the next stage is, the next slide, please. Next slide. Can you have the next? Can we have the next slide? Any difficulty?
Abhishek.
Abhishek? Okay, fine. So anyway, we will move on. Now the next stage is stage of
Maybe some technical problems, sir, with that slide.
no problem. The next stage is stage of regenerativity. Now generativity. Now you have become a young adult, fine, but what is now important, you have developed your own family, but at the same time, now you must look after the next generation. 1 minute, please give me a minute. Let me see whether I can have this. Okay. The next stage, which is the stage in which you have to move on from being a young adult. Now it is your responsible to look after the next generation. Now, as we develop our own families, our own values, our own parenting, this is the time when you do not only for your family, this is also the time when you have to work towards developing a society. This is the time when there is a greater responsibility from self towards family and towards the society. And then again, a failure here, which very often we find that somehow people tend to get stuck. People tend to get stuck either with their job or with their profession, and somehow they are not able to contribute to developing towards the society, contribute to developing towards the uh, community and the particular family. This is a stage of uh, stagnation. Now, many times we see people complaining that, yes, uh, this is the, I got it. 1 minute, but keep it here. Yeah, get that. This is the stage of passing on what you have. This is the stage of you are now already reaped the benefit. You are industrious. You have your own family. But this is the time for you to increase your productivity, to become creative, and you have to help and form the society, the social institutions, and the next generation. If people fail to do this, they remain attached only to themselves and their work and neglect the further greater responsibility. If people fail in this, they are doing great harm not only to themselves but to the entire next generation and society. Very often we see people who retire but who say that they have not really done anything in life because they have failed to go beyond their family and doing something else for the society. Otherwise, you will stagnate, you will remain here. And the next one, please. And the next slide. Next slide is 60 years to death. I mean, I think this slide was around, uh, his age was around 1950s. I would put this integrity or despair age onset beyond 60 years now. Now people, longevity, people are increasing, people are active, both in their jobs as well as in their social life, maybe to the age of 60 and beyond. So I would not accept anybody at the age of 60 as old. Now the old age starts at the retirement is 60, 65 in most places, but life doesn't stop at 60. The old age only starts at the age of 65. But this is also an age in which you have to look back, take a review of what has happened in your life so far, and accept things as they are. Now, I very often see elderly people who are somewhat dissatisfied with what has happened in their life. Of course, none of us can claim that I have lived the life entirely the way things have gone in my life or everybody's life the way we want. But if you want to be at peace, then it's very important that at this particular time, people do need to come to terms with life as life is. Meaning of love is different. Love here is deeper. Love here is meaningful. This is also the time to accept responsibility and also the time to let go of desires and distant dreams, let go of attachments. Somehow, many times people become excessively attached to material things in life. Of course, that can happen at any time. In today's world, consumerist world, people collect too many things, become attached to too many material objects, and this getting attached to too much objects really never leads to full satisfaction in life. It leads to clutter, it leads to dissatisfaction, and it doesn't lead to letting go. So I think it's important that to properly grow and integrate and to feel a sense of satisfaction, this is also an age of letting go of unnecessary desires, accepting and making peace. So this is the way we have seen how a young, completely dependent child who starts, an infant who starts as a completely helpful infant, starts growing as a child, as an adolescent, as a young adult, as a middle-aged adult, now as a senior citizen, and how at each stage there are tasks to be performed, and if there is a failure to perform the task, that is going to lead to some difficulty. The next slide, please. I think the next slide is yes. The next one. So, to recapitulate, uh, the most important, the 8 factors is starting with basic trust. Now, I think I will come to this particular factor, trust. I think basic trust is the most important factor in our life. Civilization is dependent on division of labor, cooperation between individuals and group of life, and in social life, we have to trust strangers. In fact, the beginning of trust started with hunting as a group. And when our ancient ancestors hunted at the group, they had to trust each other to carry out the task the individual has to do. And I strongly believe that there is no development of an individual without the development of basic trust. In fact, the attachment and trust is so very basic to life, and without that, the society will simply fail. One thing I think I will make a little comment here is when we talk of trust, it is not just the trust of our parents. I mean, we all begin trusting our parents, then trusting our family members, trusting our teachers, trusting our groups. But as we become older and older, we have to come to trust the people around us, the strangers, and ultimately the the rule of law. In fact, if I'm allowed to make a few comments here, the next slide, please, is the way our what the trust does. Basically, uh, trust will allow you to do my work at hand. I will not have to worry whether others are doing their job or not. Without trust, there is no certainty. If there is no trust, then the entire world is like Bhul Bhulaiya. If you remember Pandav and the Maya Mahal, Pandav stepped into water. If I don't trust what is around the corner, if the whole world is like a Bhul Bhulaiya for me, then I will not take any step. In fact, trust is a building block of cooperation. Trust is a building block of growth and development of institution, which are in turn are the building blocks of socialization and civilization. Increasing level of distrust and suspicion between individuals, families, neighborhood, and communities is now leading to doubts, suspicion, fear, and lack of growth and development. And I personally believe that Indian society also needs to focus on this particular issue on trust. Let me give you a simple example. If you have, I mean, this is something which you say every day. You go there at a crossroad, and every day you see somebody breaking a signal. The other day I was crossing the road when a two-wheeler broke the signal and nearly knocked me down. Now you will say this is such a common example, but what is it? I think this is the time when we as Indians have to really start thinking in terms of what trust is. Trust that was not breaking a signal, that was breaking a rule. It was not breaking a rule, it was breaking a trust. A trust that when I move, I will be safe. In somehow in India, we need to develop this idea of trust. Somehow I get a feeling that in India, people are believing uh, putting greater trust in their families, in their neighborhoods. Wonderful. I mean, we see this all the time. We see people putting trust into ये मेरा गांव वाला है. People will trust मेरे गांव का आदमी कौन है. People will trust जात पात, caste. People will trust their village. People will trust their neighbors. Wonderful. But very often, to improve, we need to trust strangers. We need to trust the rule of law. And for such a faith in trust. Now remember one thing, trust is ये कांच जैसा है. It is easily broken. It takes a long time for people to develop trust, but it is easily broken. Therefore, if you really want to encourage building trust in self, in others, in the institution, it's very, very important to be conscientious, to develop a way of life in which you will do your job honestly, sincerely, and believe others to do that. So without basic trust, there is really no development. The next slide, please. Next one. Besides trust, all of us need to develop autonomy. Again, autonomy means self-reliance, ability to decide and act independently. This autonomy will refer not, it begins from the childhood. Autonomy will lead to developing pride and developing skill. Even a young child can develop autonomy. If you start doing everything for your child, you are not allowing the child to develop autonomy. Without making mistake, the child will not learn. So give the children a choice and allow them to make mistake and to learn through mistake. Trust is important. Autonomy is important. Next slide, please. Initiative is important. Again, I'm repeating these steps. The next one is initiative. Without individual initiative, autonomy, and without the autonomy of the institutions, there is no progress. Personality and integrity is another way. We are all human beings. This is again, I think we are a little slow in putting up the slide. This is about initiative. A lack of initiative will mean stifling of innovation and progress. The same dynamic will work for individuals as well as groups. And the next one, please. And finally, I think, of course, there are many things which can be said, but I will put it at this way. That it's extremely important for us to develop as individuals, to develop basic trust, to see that others develop basic trust, to develop autonomy, to develop initiative, to develop industriousness, to develop intimacy, to help others, to look back at our life and to do the same, not only in our life, also in the life of the society. Ultimately, your identity and your social identity is a mix, and a progress of an individual will depend not only on the individual self, it will also depend on the progress of the entire society in which the individual is a part of, and the individual is helping the society to develop. With these few words, I will stop here because this is a fairly long subject. We can take any question answer. I think somebody has said, please show us the slide of initiative. Can you put the slide on initiative? Actually, there are many interesting things which are there on. One more slide, please, before that. Let me say is that initiative is when a child now is beginning to be independent, starts doing things on their own. Individual, now there is a little bit of mix here. You should allow the child to walk. You should allow the child to fall. Every time the child falls and you start holding the child will not walk. So I think initiative does require a little bit of protection, but too much protection or too much stifling of initiative means lack of development. I remember talking about this to a parent, and I asked the parent who was doing everything for the child and controlling the child so very strongly. Today what has happened is that somehow parents believe in controlling the children too strongly, doing everything for the children, right from their homework. They want to regulate the child's life completely. But I think this is going to be bad. I remember talking to somebody and I asked that adult that I said, as a child, as a young boy, I asked the father कि आपने कभी पतंग उड़ाया था क्या? He saying yes. I said अगर आपको पतंग उड़ाना है और अगर पतंग ऊपर उड़नी है आकाश में, तो क्या उस डोरी को आप पकड़ के रखेंगे या उसको ढिलाई ढिलाई देंगे? अगर आप डोरी को ढिलाई नहीं देंगे तो आपका पतंग ऊपर उड़ेगा नहीं. So initiative means just as that patang is attached to you, but you are allowing it to soar. Similarly with your children, you must be attached to them, you must look after them, but you must also allow them to be independent, initiative. पतंग गोता खाता है, खाने दो, गिरता है गिरने दो, लेकिन वो गोता खाएगा नहीं, गिरेगा नहीं तो उड़ेगा भी नहीं. So I think in developing the child's personality, and the same way even for the various institutions. In India, somehow in our hierarchy, my complaint is that we are not giving enough initiative, enough. Without initiative, there is no autonomy. Without autonomy, there is no innovation. Very often people say कि इंडिया में कोई नई चीज बनती नहीं है. अगर इंडिया में नई चीज बननी है तो इंडिया को मिस्टेक करनी है, और अगर इंडिया को मिस्टेक करनी है तो वो मिस्टेक अलाउड है, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन अलाउड है. अगर हर स्टेज में बोला गया कि ये मत करो, ये मत करो, ऐसा मत करो, ऐसा मत करो, तो हम लोग कहाँ जाएंगे? सो आई थिंक द स्टेज of initiative and industry is very important for development of self as well as development of the entire society. Anything else, please? We talked on trust. I think a little on identity. I think identity and personality are two different things. If I request the director to give me another 5 minutes, sir, can I talk?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, fine. So I think this is an important discussion. I was wondering whether I had enough time. But identity. Now, as human beings, we are the only species which is aware of who we are. Other species are not really aware of who they are. Very difficult. If you find a very, very simple thing, the other day my door was open and the bird came inside, and the bird sat in front of the mirror, and the bird was pecking at the mirror because the bird did not understand that what was in the mirror was self. Only human beings understand who I am and who others are, where I begin and where I end. Now, this is the self, this is the identity. Now, identity and personality are little different things. Personality mane swabhav. Now, very often we come to see people, and as soon as we meet somebody, we come to know कि ये तो बोलने वाला है. You know that somebody is ज़्यादा बोलेगा, somebody is open, somebody is conscientious, उसको काम दिया तो पूरा करेगा. Somebody is open, somebody is going to be difficult, somebody is going to be agreeable, somebody is very strong, very stable, somebody is very sensitive, somebody is going to feel very bad very easily. So these are, personality is this long-term pattern of our behavior on how we behave, our experiences, our conscientiousness, our agreeableness, our ready to adapt to the situation outside, our own emotional stability. These are the various traits of personality, and these traits of personality are common to almost all human beings. आप कोई भी हो. Now, but this is not identity. Identity is the sum of substance of who we are. People will have the same personality, but each person is different because each person is born differently, is nurtured differently. So therefore, the next slide, please, the identity slide. Can you put the identity slide? So identity is deeper, it is more personal, and it is the sum and substance of all our experiences in our life. What makes me unique than other people, than another person, that is my identity. Now we have a personal identity and we also have a social identity. Now at the same time, आजकल आइडेंटिटी के बारे में बहुत बोला जाता है. What is the identity? What my identity as? I can identify myself in different way. I may be young, I may be old. I am married, I am single. I am a Marathian, I am a Malayali. I may be a congressman or maybe a communist. I may believe in God, I may not believe in God. So at the same time, I am myself as an individual person with my personality. At the same time, I have my identity, a personal identity. And at the same time, I have my social identity by the virtue of the group in which I belong to. And this is how my entire personhood is. My personality, my personal identity, and my social identity. And this is the way I am going to interact with myself, to interact with life. And this is the way, people believe. Unfortunately, uh, in India, maybe all over the world, people are playing too much on identity, and there is too much of identity politics going on. It's very, very important that we understand that we don't get trapped. If we get trapped into purely identity politics, the issue of trust and distrust comes. Particularly in these days in social media, we see this happening too often. Social media are providing trust and they are providing distrust. Social media at the same time are allowing people to come together, but they are cutting off people from each other. And people get trapped into their own identity as their own social identity. They fail to see other human beings as the way they are. Somebody asked me a question that what as a psychiatrist have you learned? So I'll put it this way. As a psychiatrist, I have learned two things in life. One thing as a psychiatrist which I have learned is no two human beings are the same. Every human being is unique and different. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is different. And the second rule is all of us are the same. Now you will say that how this appears to be contradictory. If I am unique, how I am the same? The fact is that as individual, I have an identity, a unique identity, but as a member of the humanity, I have the same sum and substance. I will develop the same way, the same trust, the same initiative, the same autonomy, the same intimacy, the same development. All of us will have love, desire, hatred, basic human emotions, anger, rationality, all of it is the same. And I think it is very important that if we learn to see ourselves as unique and we also learn to see others as unique, at the same time, we also learn to see what are the human characteristics which are then in each other. Then you will start looking at people beyond their identity. beyond who they are, whether somebody, is a Christian or a Parsi or a Malayali or, or a Hindi or whatever it is, or maybe, Turkish, all over the world. And I think that is important. And I strongly believe that today's challenges of the entire world, today it is not our challenge. It's the pandemic challenge, is challenge to the entire world, to the entire human race. Environment is a challenge to the entire human race. Therefore, it is important for us not only to develop ourselves as individual, it's important to develop ourselves as the part of an entire human community, entire humanity. And therefore, we need to go beyond the narrow identity politics. I'm not using the word politics in the sense politics of what's happening in terms of governance, but in general, politics as a whole. The unique challenges of the planet beyond is, if all the individuals are allowed, they have the freedom to develop themselves. You can see what is happening. The strife, the war, the trust, the distrust, everything, everyday elections. When there are people, who uh, are are divided on the name of language, religion, caste, community, this, that, and everything, and we are failing to see the common challenges which are there, getting cut off from each other. Well, I think that should do it. Thanks a lot. Anything else? Any other questions, please? Yes, when I said generativity, integrity, that is what I mean. Is that only if you are complete as a human being yourself, you will be ready to pass it on to the others. We tend to forget that we need to pass it on to others. And please remember, when I'm talking of passing on to others, it is not passing it on to your immediate next family members. Now, if I keep my home clean by throwing the garbage outside, then I'm not doing any justice to myself. Somebody asked me a particular question on the way, how do you classify people? There are various ways you can classify people. One way I can classify a person is one way who will uh, throw out the garbage in the dustbin only when somebody is looking. When somebody is not looking, then he will throw the garbage anywhere else in the world. It's a matter of conscientiousness. It's people who are conscious and people who are not conscientious. So I think the generativity doesn't mean that the lessons of life are only for us, they're for the next generation. And not generation mean not just immediate neighborhood, for the entire life, entire humanity as a whole. Somebody says how to deal with politics of others. Yes. Can I answer that question? I think very, very, very simple explanation is we need not bother about politics. Politics will always be there. We have to look beyond politics. We have to look people as they are. Groups ultimately are made of individuals. Uh, Remember one thing, no hatred. I mean, you may have political differences with somebody, philosophical differences with somebody, ideological differences with somebody, but don't have individual and hateful differences with other individuals. This is what I will say. Next one, please. Of course, I'm not going into Indian philosophy because our Indian philosophy also has similar ashramas, the four ashramas. That will be a different subject altogether, please. Somebody has asked this question about old age. That is a different presentation in itself on dealing with old age, I do take that presentation also. Uh, I'm doing it because I myself I now 70 and now entering that particular age. But yes, I think the beginning of old age starts at a young age. I personally feel is that a good lifestyle that is important. To develop a good old age, you must be forever young at heart. Curiosity is extremely important. Lifestyle is extremely important. I mean, one can talk on diet, one can talk on exercise, one can talk on lifestyle, attitude towards life. This may be another, if time permits, or maybe your directors permit, we can have some other session on detailed session on that. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have a good number of participants as well. If any participant wants to have interaction with sir, they can unmute themselves on their video and can have interaction. Thank you.
So can we have the PPT of the slides, please?
PPT, I'm sure that will be provided to you. Yes. It is
So
there
I wanted to
with
ask a
Abhishek. I
question.
think it is there with Abhishek. We can provide. We don't mind sharing, definitely. Sure.
So I wanted to ask a question that the
Yes.
development you have mentioned is a constant or it stops at a certain age.
Yeah. These are the rough boundaries. Ultimately, as individuals, we see our brain starts maturing around the age of 13. See, there are different stage of development. Let's put it this way. Development of the brain is one thing, development of the body is another thing, development of wisdom is another thing. But man as a human being is generally developing all along. We take our physical development, uh, we take our emotional development lifelong. Physical development is around maybe the age of 20, 21, 22. Beyond that, there is a little bit of physical deterioration. So start at a very young age. Look at the infant as the infant is in crib. Look at the infant as the infant is crawling. Look at the child as the child is walking. Look at the child as the child is talking. Look at the child has moved out of the home, as going to school. Look at the child as the child becomes, an adolescent, comes into puberty, shifts his love from parents to the teachers, to the loyalty, to the group.
Praveen?
And so the development process, of course, is a lifelong process. Again, there is an internal brain development. At the around the age of 13, 14, many of the neurons in the brains are going to be actually snipped. And
Okay.
the wrong development of neural circuits at this time can subsequently lead to a lifetime of mental illness. It's very important to protect the child, to give the child proper nutrition, freedom from infection, a nurturing environment, a rich environment of a number of environmental stimuli, a stimuli rich environment, all is important. And when I'm talking of stimuli rich environment, I don't mean heavy expensive toys. Today's parents are spending too much in giving too expensive toys. A child is very happy playing with a small doll because the doll will become everything to the child. Ultimately, the simpler the child, the greater the initiative and the imagination of the child. Please remember this. Play
So
is not
basically,
the
so
play is
basically,
not about a toy. The play is an interaction between the toy and the imagination of the child. So I think one can have a session on play. So yes, madam. I hope that answers your question.
yeah. So basically, the physical development stops at a level, but the brain is behindly working till the time of death from the time to conception.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There was once upon a time, it was thought that the brain stopped developing. No, not at all. Even during old age also, new neurons are grown into the brain. So it's called neuroplasticity. So the brain develop never stops. But brain development will stop if you stop using your brain. That is the main thing. So the way not to stop your brain is to keep on challenging your brain, which means curiosity, which means learning, which means being open to experiences, which maybe taking hobby, taking up solving maybe puzzles, or for that matter, learning a new language, music, dance. So ultimately, all that is very important. It's the active body which will lead to active mind, which will lead to active brain, and ultimately everything is connected to one. Can't really separate them from each other.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much,
Yes,
sir.
welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Thank you for an excellent session, sir. I
yes.
have a query, sir. Regarding
One
this
minute, please
childhood.
hold on for a second. Give me a minute.
Yes, sir.
Yes, madam. Please.
Yeah, this is a question related to the childhood, sir.
Yes,
Especially the children who are undergoing some sort of disaster or a kind of issue or a serious threatening incident, they may
yes,
develop a different kind of behavior.
yes.
As an expert, as a practitioner, what is your suggestion to come across such kinds of bad kind of effect of this
Yes,
kind of issues
yes,
among the
yes.
childhood
No,
children?
no, true, very true. In fact, as a psychiatrist, we very often see that adults who develop serious mental illnesses in adulthood very often have the history of childhood abuse or childhood trauma. So it's very important that a child's trauma should never be neglected. Children may not be able to explain what is happening to them in so many words, but it can impact their development. They can become cranky, they develop clinging behavior, they develop isolation, they develop school phobia, and there are several manifestations. So it is extremely important not to neglect a child trauma or a childhood's trauma, and give the child a loving environment. Now, what next? I mean, there are several stages here of attachment styles. I think my wife will take this. That is another subject in itself, on what is an attachment and how children get attached to their parents, and how that attachment style ultimately leads to differences. I would put it this way: give your child, not only your child, give every child. Please remember, I'm not saying only your child. Give the children of your neighborhood also the same experience, the same opportunities. And remember another thing: children have amazing resilience, elasticity. They will bounce back, but they need that time and the effort and the money. Very often, what children are not given today, children are given toys, they are given sweets, but they are not given books. Read to the child, talk to the child. Now, even from the intrauterine life, the words matter to the child. So talking to the children is very important. When the mother holds the child and mother starts talking to the child, going to the child, and Badbad Gita, Shishu Gita, playing the rhymes, the nursery, all this time, spending time, as somebody has suggested, with the child, spending, holding, talking, reading, listening, all these things are going to help the child to allay their anxiety and give them a secure, loving environment. And a child who has developed, you know, some kind of trauma, the child's requirements are even higher. So I think we should not neglect every single child. See, ultimately, this is how people say is that why there are so many thieves which come from slums. People ask this question. They look at all the people from slum as thieves, as you know, as upper middle classes have this particular tendency. They are not thieves. But remember that if a child is going to fight for bread and butter and develops in completely hostile environment, not trusting anybody and everybody, what lesson the child is going to have? The child is going to fight. So ultimately, it is never just about self. It's about our total environment and total society. Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks a lot. I think this. Yes,
Hello,
I
sir.
think.
Yeah. Sir, am I
Some
audible, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sir. I just wanted to. I really enjoyed your amazing session, and it was a very fruitful session, sir. So the first thing is that thank you so much for that. The other question I had was that, sir, I visit a orphanage, specially meant for girls, very regularly. So I
Yes.
come across girls from various backgrounds there. I just want to know that, sir, how can I comfort the girls to make their life better? Because I'm into counseling, so I help them into their careers, like what they can take for future. But otherwise, how can I help them? Please guide me through it, sir. Thank you.
Yes. I think the um, counseling skill is another session. But first thing which a counselor would require is authenticity. That is, I think, is most important. Very often, it's not just what we say that is important, but how we say it and how sincere we are in what we are saying it. There is that communication which is beyond our words. So I think that honesty, that sincerity works. Counseling soft skills absolutely work. The ability to listen to them, it works. I would also put it this way: is that uh, we have to listen to them. We have to develop hope in them, but not give them false promises. A number of times we see people developing, giving very glib words. सब कुछ हो जाएगा, ये तो बहुत आसान है, इसमें क्या है, इसमें डरने की बात क्या है, और ये तो कोई भी कुछ करेगा. I mean, many times we tend to belittle the difficulties others are facing. I think the first thing which I think, if I'm going to deal with a girl or a boy of that age, I would first of all try and understand the difficulties that boy and girl will be facing. कि उनका life situation क्या है, and depending on that, of course, is many times, believe me, they need somebody to listen to them. It is not just our giving false promises or tall promises, but our giving a warm, ear to them. Again, encourage them to read. I put it this way: encourage them to read, encourage them to develop, their own personalities, their own skills. I'm sure, they will have amazing skills within that. Try to find out what skills that group or maybe that particular has. But otherwise ये बहुत आसान हो जाता है. People will say money is not going to solve everything, ultimately, but it is your time, it is your energy, it's your enthusiasm, and it's your honesty, sincerity, and ability to listen to others and give hope but not false hope. I think that is what will matter. As young girls, you will also need to tell them to be aware of the world outside. Now we understand that young girls are very often the victims of sexual abuse. You may want to teach them on what is a good touch, what is a bad touch. You may teach them on what to believe, what not to believe. You may teach them on how to take care of themselves. Because many times somebody who is starving for love and affection are easily fooled. So it's not that you want to make them fearful, but you want to make them more cautious and more able to understand what life is about. And I think as girls, you can do this something special to them. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I just want to tell you that unfortunately, I've come across those girls who have undergone that bad touch abuse, and it is at times very, you can say, very different kind of stories when they hear one comes across them. So definitely, sir, your suggestions are definitely going to make a difference in my
Yes.
way of talking to them.
But there is one thing which I would like to tell them
Yeah,
is,
please.
is though we understand that such bad things happen,
Yeah,
it is also important them for to understand
yeah,
that the world is not only about bad people.
yeah,
That
absolutely, sir.
that that though one bad thing may have happened to his or her life, that
Yes,
should not color their entire life.
absolutely, sir.
In fact, rebuilding trust at
Yeah,
this level is going to be the most important thing. Is that
yeah,
how do you rebuild trust in goodness
yeah.
in somebody who has experienced only badness?
Very
And
true, sir.
that is going to be your challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Now, I guess
Mr.
we
Bishwas
have.
wanted to ask a question. Yes.
I think the participants who wanted to have interaction have done. Now maybe we can proceed with the session. And now I request our regional director, Dr. E. Krishna Rao sir, for his final remarks.
Okay, thank you. It is a very such a wonderful lecture, and really it is very useful to all the participants. Actually, Dr. Shreekant Joshi lecture speaks about his experience, his 45 years of experience in the particular field where he has analyzed particularly the stages in the human life. Because of we are all in the we crossed some stages. Now we are in one stage where we have to understand the previous stages situation, mental status. Accordingly, we have to deal with either the children or with your family members. That is very important one, where our mental status we have to understand. I have seen a good number of participants. They are mostly the young students, as well as the faculty also here. And we are in this out of these 8 stages. Some stage we have to understand particularly about the the trust which we should have. And also, I like the word, the sentence, what he has used, particularly this one, love and affection, where everyone should show the love and affection on others. Then only we can lead the happy life. Otherwise, if we are not understanding each together, then always the problem, either it is in the family or in the society. We cannot live happily and we cannot lead our life happily, and we will make the disturbance to others also. That's why we have to understand that where we are, what we have to do, how we have to deal with the things. Really, sir, this lecture, I hope our psychology students, particularly, and the other participants in general, also they have enjoyed a lot. And I think this is the one of the longest lecture we have organized recently. It's more than 1.5 hours. Really, your experience, it speaks. Sir, we are very thankful to you for delivering such type of the wonderful lecture. This lecture already recording. This recorded version we will upload in our RC Mumbai YouTube channel. RC Mumbai YouTube channel we are going to upload, and at the same time the PPT also is going to upload in our RC Mumbai website. You can access. All the psychology students also will be supplied this one, and the academic counselors also will be given this PPT. There is no need to worry about this presentation and the PPT. We will provide to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, and also Dr. Geeta Joshi also. I thank. Please, Shashank, you people can go ahead with the schedule. Thank you, one and all.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, coming towards the end of this session, I now request the academic counselor of IGNOU RC Mumbai, Rashmi Sawant ma'am, for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shashankji. Dr. Shreekant Joshi, thank you very much for coming here. I feel honored, really honored to give you, to be the chosen one and to give you the vote of thanks. Sir, you're very knowledgeable. You have explained the entire presentation so well. You are you have been in this field for a very long time, and yet you have been able to come down to our level, and you have been explaining all the theories so effectively, so beautifully. ERIKSON is one of the basic theories we learn in basics of psychology, and you have also helped us learn how we can apply these theories and make our lives better. Thank you very much, sir, for being so kind, so nice, and so easy to connect with us. I also give the credit to Dr. Joshi, madam, Dr. Geeta Joshi, who has helped pick up this gem for us, and having us get the opportunity to heard him. Dr. Krishna Rao sir, Shashankji, Abhishekji, all this technical team, sir, these wonderful sessions are impossible until and unless the background workers do their work, they do their job effectively. The technical support and all the work that you have taken, all the efforts that you have taken to prepare this, arrange this workshop. Thank you very much. All the regional directors of Indira Gandhi National Open University, all the assistant regional directors, all the coordinators of study center, academic counselor, and all the learners. Thank you very much for being here with us. Dr. Joshi said the brain development stops when we stop using our brain. So from all the psychologists, I assure you, sir, that we will not stop using our brain. We will definitely learn more and more psychology, and will definitely apply more and more psychology as per your guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all. Now, sir, with your permission, now we can close the session.
Yes, you can close it. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.